Today, I must thank you all and I must salute you all for standing for Sushant Singh Rajput with so much of courage, so much of patience, and with so much of enthusiasm without any break. And I adore all of you and I'm grateful to all of you. So today I'm appearing before you uh, with three videos, and all three are in English as well as in Hindi. So total 6 videos today. I'm very much pained and very much distressed to know that the media and the very part of the very prominent part of the media, they are very much indulging into diverting the matter of murder of Sushant Singh, and they are trying to give it's the picture of suicide, and it's very insulting, degrading, demeaning to Sushant Singh Rajput, who is not here to defend himself. And the lot of media and the police and the government, they are trying to give a color still with so much of evidence given on on media, and it's all in the air, not mine, millions. The evidences are before the the crores and crores and crores of people of the fans of Sushant Singh Rajput. And everybody they are trying to give okay, how how come he committed suicide. What police is doing at this moment, that they are calling the killers, those who are involved, they are those who are member of the mafia, and they are the police is with them. The police, by calling them, police is trying to give it a color of suicide. Police is just passing time, police is just killing time to test your patience, to test your courage, and to test your love for Sushant Singh Rajput. A lot of things are going on about nepotism, to show that he was affected by he was affected with taking away 7 of the films out of his contract. It is true, it was done, but it is not the reason for anything what happened to Sushant Singh Rajput. He has been murdered, he has been brutally murdered, he has been gruesomely murdered, and people should focus on it. If they really want justice to come to Sushant Singh Rajput. But this media, apart from Mr. Iskaran Singh Bhandari and one very highly honorable gentleman, Mr. N.K. Sood, ex-officer of the RAW, these are the only 2 people who are giving the clear picture, and they are supporting the truth. Nobody else is supporting the truth. Every part of media is trying to sell their notankis in the name of what do you call it, debate. What sort of debate it is? And it is not the time to debate. It is the time for cry. Raise your voice and be united. Don't invite riff-raffs to say this different kinds of stories. This is not the time for stories. This is time for action. If not COVID, then by now the case would have been almost investigated by CBI. And with everything, with all the efforts, with all the people's cry, there is no sign of CBI investigation at all. But one very good sign is there in the total darkness, and that sign has descended in the form of our Honorable Sri Subramanyam Swamiji. And I feel Lord Krishna has come on the earth to take the matter in his own hand. It is Kali Yuga. Lord Krishna cannot descend on the earth to sort out the this problems, but his representatives will always be there. In Gita is written, Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata विनाशाय चतुष्कृता धर्म संस्थापनाय अर्थाय नहीं परित्राणाम साधुनाम धर्म संस्थापनाय संभवामि युगे युगे. कभी ऐसा it can never happen that the sin, the atrocities, the injustices will carry on and there will not be an end. Now the end is very soon, and Mr. Subramanian Swami has written to our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, and the CBI investigation is at the horizon, and we all must cherish it, and we all should celebrate it, that our Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi has taken cognizance of the letter written by Mr. Subramanian Swami in regard to the CBI inquiry regarding the murder of the Sushant Singh Rajput. You must have marked, till today I have never used the word suicide. It's insulting. We are throttling, we are strangulating the spirit of Sushant Singh Rajput when he is not here, by using or coloring the whole picture of the crime into a case of suicide. So please don't do this to Sushant Singh Rajput. He is one of us. It's not a strangulation of this boy. The whole humanity, the whole system of justice, the whole system of law has been strangulated by the mafia gang of killers. I'm very much upset and I'm very much distressed seeing the media behavior. Nepotism. They are after the blood of nepotism. Sushant Singh Rajput had overcome a thing like nepotism. He had reached the sky with his 2 films, only 2 films, and rest was going to be a history. But the history was brought to an end, a sudden end, an unfortunate end. He had done, Chichore, MS Dhoni. He has made MS Dhoni immortal. MS Dhoni has become immortal due to the action, the acting of Sushant Singh Rajput. So, there's so many, nepotism has always been there, and it is still there. It will always be there. But the stars like Shatrughan Sinha, Manoj Bajpayee, there are so many. Rajesh Khanna, who has not faced nepotism and not has come to the top? Who has not reached the sky? So please don't make howls about nepotism. Sushant Singh Rajput was not being affected by taking away 7 pictures at all. He has declared it. If I don't get picture, I'll make my own films. I will do my own videography and make my own films. And this man had so many projects. He was a scientist. He was a genius. He was an intelligent, person interested in science and technology. He was doing research in astronomy. And he was going to give a concept of artificial intelligence. Who is going to give? Out of, so many hundreds and thousands of, stars of Bollywood. They were all extremely jealous of him. The killers mafia, so-called Islamic, extremists, they were triggered by the, one argument in the birthday party of Salman Khan between Sushant Singh Rajput and Suraj Pancholi. Because Sushant Singh Rajput's commercial manager, Disha Salian, was carrying the baby of Suraj Pancholi, and this Suraj Pancholi, this joker, is already famous for making another innocent young girl called Jia Khan and getting her killed. And so he fought for the dignity of a woman. This is what happened in Mahabharata. This is what happened in the the war between the battle between Rama and Ravan. It's for dignity of a woman. Durga came into action to self her own dignity with against the demons, and the truth has always won. Okay, so please don't say nepotism. He was not a man to be. There are so many riffraffs. They are coming on media, taking part in debates and calling that how nepotism has affected him and how they are assassinating his personality, his integrity, his mental integrity, and it is a kind of a sort of persona assassination, as in like character assassination after his death. This is what kind of tribute people are paying to this noble soul, this innocent soul who has been killed. And let me tell you, he has not been killed. He has been, we have sacrificed him for bringing the whole killing mafia into picture. Now the whole nation has raised its weapon against them, and they will be finished. It will come to an end, and hopefully, and it looks like very soon. So the reality is that Dawood Ibrahim's mafia gang played through Salman Khan, Sajid Nadiawala, the murderer of Dibya Bharti, Jia Khan, Disha Salyan, Sushant Singh Rajput's two close associates, Pariksha Gupta, Manmeet Singh, and at last Sushant Singh Rajput's. They are the same. The killers are the same, ponies of Dawood Ibrahim mafia gang, and they are one of us. They are all of all of them belong to us. They are one of us. On the behest of Salman Khan, Sajid Nadiawala films were and Sajid Nadiawala, the films were taken out of hands of Sushant Singh Rajput, Mahesh Bhatt, and they were taken after after the contract being made and after the payments being made. So it is not nepotism. They had taken Sushant Singh Rajput into their contract. They were supporting him. Naturally, when a star becomes successful and such roaring success, he proves before the audience, every producer, every director runs after him. So they ran after him. But due to this, Salman Khan, indirectly, due to Dawood Ibrahim's influence, and for the sake of their pony called Suraj Pancholi, they came into action to kill him. And they have, there is no value of life. They have proved it very much. 5 persons being killed, consecutively. 2 innocent girls. I have seen the mother of Jia Khan, and I saw the Almighty God crying for his daughter. It was not a woman crying. I could see the pain and agony and the grief in her eyes. And I am a mother of a daughter. And I feel her pain as a mother of a daughter. And she has lost her daughter. And she was crying that she has lost, her daughter lost her baby also. She was murdered because of a sex maniac who cannot use condom to control his sexual urges, his criminal sexual urges. This is what is our culture of India and culture of we, the Indians. If it is so, then it's all right. This Mahesh Bhatt, Karan Johar are the ponies of Salman Khan and Dawood Ibrahim and Sajid Nadiawala. The films were only taken away after after Sushant Singh Rajput confronted Suraj Pancholi. The ponies of Salman Khan, were jealous, and they killed 2 snakes with one rod. One snake was jealousy of his success because they were old, aged, and eunuchs-like dancers, and the second snake was, you know, to kill him for the sake of his, you know, pony called Suraj Pancholi. Who is he? He's getting innocent girls pregnant and getting them killed. Because he was going to be murdered, and Mahesh Bhatt and Karan Johar, Alia Bhatt, they knew it. They played the game. You know, in chat show, the Karan Johar is asking this, you know, lizard-like looking girl, Alia Khan, whom you would like to be killed, and she said, I would like to kill Sushant Singh Rajput. So they were making joke of their plans to get him killed. It was a signal of their, you know, motives. Because Sushant Singh Rajput was going to be murdered, this Aditya Chopra, Sanjay Leela Bhansali, and others, you know, producer, threw out Sushant Singh Rajput after the contracts and after the payments being made. It's the mafia. Why don't you speak with courage? If you want to speak for, you know, justice for Sushant Singh Rajput, why you are shouting about this nonsensical thing called nepotism? Nepotism has not killed him. There was no depression. He was totally cheerful, full of life. He had many films in his hand. He has enough money in his bank account. He has planned for his wedding. Due to COVID, he didn't get married. Otherwise, he would have been, you know, married by now. So the person in depression will plan his, you know, wedding. He planned to go to see his sister in USA. And he wanted to live with all of his dreams. He had made list of dreams. And I'm sorry, I have to repeat these facts again. He has researchers online. There are so many researchers. I just mentioned. All his close ones were murdered, you know, under the plot of suicide. The close ones were Pariksha Gupta, Manmeet Singh, then Disha Salyan, and he was totally left vulnerable, exposed to the murderers and their agents like Sandeep Singh, Riya Chakravarti, Mahesh Sethi, Siddharth Pithani, and the servants, and I don't know how many agencies were there. And today I'm giving you a clear picture, really what happened and really what did not happen. It needs to be reiterated. It needs to be asserted again and maybe again that first of all, there was no party on 13 June 2020. There was no party. It's just a rumor spread by the killers, the criminals. The telephone calls were fake after his brutal, you know, murder. He was not alive on 13th June 2020. He was killed in the evening, and they most probably there was loud music and not hooting, but it was desperate crying for help or crying for defense, you know, made by Sushant Singh Rajput, and nobody heard his cry. We all allowed him to be killed. Nobody heard him carefully. After killing him, you know, he was killed very brutally. Why people are calling him nepotism, depression and suicide? Because there were very prominent, you know, injury marks of his murder on his forehead, on his left eye, on his neck. Both the legs are broken. I have seen. When I heard about it, I have gone through, and I will show you the picture. His both the legs were broken. His hand has got so many bruises. His right hand. He was desperate to defend him, but he was overpowered. It was not a cold-blooded murder. It was very brutal murder, and it was a daylight murder, and this was a very well-planned murder. After murdering him, they have changed his clothes. There was bloodshed. There was, I think they broke his spine also, because they have put, I have carefully seen the same video which I will show you at the end of, these 3 videos, that his spine was broken. He was not straight. They put a quilt under his body. Why? Why that quilt was not removed? His legs are kept on 2 pillows to give a normal shape. His bones, the whole body was broken. That is what the reason. They did not bare his body. They did not let his father see his body. And the shattered father could not see the face of his son. He was not in mental condition, fit condition to see the face of his own son. Therefore, there was no party. It's all nonsense. And there was no phone call. There was anonymous call. There was missed call made by the killers. 3 calls to Riya Chakravarti, to Sandeep Singh, to Mahesh Sethi. And now I am coming to 14th June. The dead body was lying in a small room, not his bedroom, because in bedroom his dog was there. The dog always lived in bedroom with Sushant Singh Rajput. He loved his dog. And it's all a well-known fact. I don't have to, repeat it again. The dead body was taken to a small room, a spare room, which was a vacant room, which was not used. It was used to keep his dead body flat on a bed. There was no lost keys. There was no key maker called. There was no sister called. The man called key maker was already there. This sister in blue shirt and jeans, she was already there. They were the witnesses of his being murdered. I am pained to say that sister was involved with the murder, willingly or unwillingly. It is a fact. There was no telephone call to sister. She was there. The key maker, there was no key maker. The door was open. The door was not closed at all. That is why police did not take any fingerprints from anywhere. There is no need. The dead body was lying. And they said he went, these are all nonsense, farcical and totally bland lie that he went for a walk. No, nobody has seen him going for a walk. He never asked for juice. This is all lie. And nobody asked for lunch. Neither he asked for lunch, and neither these killers were asked about the menu of the lunch. These are all stories. They are the killers. They have made stories to bluff the public. Police is a party to it. Police will never take these evidences into account. They will never. They have not sealed the crime site. Why they left without sealing the crime site? It's a very big question. Why the media did not raise this question? Why they are not raising these questions? And they are always talking about nepotism, about Mahesh Bhatt, about Karan Johar, about Salman Khan. There are only 2 people who talk about Dawood Ibrahim and the whole mafia gang. Mr. N.K. Sood, ex-raw officer, and Mr. Subramanian Swamy. Hats off to him. Hats off to Mr. N.K. Sood. I salute both of them. And I say I pay my highest honor to both of them for standing by truth, to be courageous enough to speak the truth. The dead body was not hanging at all. They never hanged at all. 6 feet tall, 80 kgs boy cannot be hanged. They have to bring a mini, what do you call the, which is that vehicle which is used for, the name is missing from my brain. I am very much disturbed today. It lifts very heavy weights for building and other heavy work. What do you call it?
Forklifter or no?
No, it has got a name. Anyway, that 80 kgs dead body, 6 feet tall, cannot be hanged. So what they did? They brought a green kurta. They tore it into 2 pieces. The bigger piece was just hanged by the fan. There is no photo of the hanging body. There cannot be. There was no knot on the fan. They have not taken the knot, on the fan. And photography. There is no photography of knot on the fan at all. They have shown in a photograph. The upper portion says shows that a part of green kurta hanging. It was not cut. Because if you will cut, if you are in hurry and there is a man to be saved who is hanging, you will cut the kurta. There is no cutting it. It was torn. And while tearing it, a piece of hair has been dropped on the front of the neck of the Sushant Singh Rajput. The DNA test of this hair would have told all the stories. I hope it has been collected because it's in a very close, in a very close distance photography showing very prominently one hair particle about 30 to 40 inches long. A small part of the green kurta was just left next to Sushant Singh Rajput. Probably it touched 3 fingers of Sushant Singh Rajput. But let me tell you, there is no finger marks on any green kurta. It's all lies. They're bluffing. It's all farce. It's all fraud. It's concocted. Nothing has been done. No forensic report is ready. Not a single one. And the dead body, the police has seen full of injuries. And the injury marks were 18 to 20 hours old marks. And the visible marks on the face and the face of Sushant Singh Rajput's body is totally disfigured due to degenerative changes after his death during 20 to 24 hours. It's not his original configuration of his face. So why people are talking about nepotism and depression and suicide and suicide on 14th and this and that? Be shameful. Be ashamed of talking such blatant lies to kill the truth, to assassinate the justice. No suicidal note was found. Just in a corner on a shelf, a medicine box was kept to prove, and a new strip of antidepressant tablets were kept. There is no record of antidepressant treatment. There is no record of his being hospitalized for a week for antidepressant tablet. And these are all nonsense. This is all criminals' version who were involved in the crime. And the media is churning it again, round and round and round and round and round. They are churning to sell their notankis, to sell their shows, to sell their videos and to kill, to throttle the soul of Sushant Singh Rajput. The dog was locked in another room, and in the room there were no belongings. There was no stool which was needed for committal of suicide, because there was no suicide. Without a suicide note, and when there is a body on the injury, when there is a body, there is no suicide. When there is a suicide, there is no injury. It's a golden rule of forensic medicine. How can you defy this forensic science principle on your whims and fancies, on your scandalization, and making the rumors round and round? You're churning this, nepotism, depression, this, that, suicide, without any clue, without any evidence, without any fact. The dog was locked away. Police was called in collusion. Police knew about it. The phone call, history of these killers, the seven, Sandeep Singh, Mahesh Sethi, Siddharth Pithani, Riya Chakravarti, the sister of Sushant Singh Rajput who was present, everybody's SIM card should have been seized by the police as evidence. It was not done. It was intentionally not done, because the police was in collusion. No fingerprints have been collected, not even a single one. Police did not seal the crime site at all. They have, made this story by giving a false statement of the killer itself, and it is not valid in the court of law. Police cannot pull this case very long in the name of suicide. I can assure you. These facts there are very many avenues we can take the matter, the murder, the gruesome murder by the mafia killers done to Sushant Singh Rajput in the court of law. It's just a matter of time, and because it is COVID, otherwise public would have done justice to Sushant Singh Rajput. The way the young generation, I salute the young generation of my country for standing by Nirbhaya, who was not a star, film star. The young generation stood to seek justice for a girl who was gang raped and murdered in most unusual, gruesome, brutal, horrendous manner on the road in a running bus with full freedom. And the same, millions of crowds of youngsters were treated by the Congress government with the fire brigade, jetted chilled cold water in the night of December to make them disperse. And the masterminder was the Congress party's demon called Kapil Sibal. He has been the person who is responsible for all the crimes, all the cruelties, all the all sorts of conspiracies against our own nation. The security of our nation is masterminded by this man called Kapil Sibal. Can we stop?